In this module, we're going to work on responsiveness and prototyping properties in Figma, understanding how these decisions directly impact how the design will then be interpreted by GeneXus. To do that, we won't just look at theoretical concepts, but we'll apply them to a concrete example, a card, one of the most common components within any interface. Grouping elements. This will be our starting point. Before talking about responsiveness, it's necessary to understand how elements are grouped in Figma, since the properties that could be applied later depend on this. For this example, we're going to start from a very simple card composed of 3 elements, an image, a text, and a button. Initially, these elements are organized as a group. Groups are mainly used to move several elements together. In the Layers panel, we're going to see them represented with a dotted line icon. They don't have a background, nor do they have a border or layout properties. If we select the elements within a group, we only have basic properties like width, height, and position. This means that if we stretch this card, the elements don't adapt correctly, since the group doesn't define behavior rules. If instead of working with groups, I convert this card into a frame, the logic changes. Frames are containers that allow you to define background, border, corner radii, and also enable some key properties, constraints. By default, all elements within a frame are fixed to the top left corner. This implies that when modifying the width of the card, the elements still don't respond in an adaptive way. Constraints are the basis for defining how each element behaves, whether it stays fixed to the left, to the right, centered, or if it stretches along with the container. For example, if I fix the button to the right when I stretch the card, the button follows that edge. If I apply left and right to the text, this text is not going to stretch with the card. These adjustments are the real basis of responsiveness in Figma and have direct consequences in GeneXus. Each control is placed in a cell of the generated table with relative or absolute size, according to the defined constraint. When an element has anchors, the remaining space between the cell and the control translates as margins in GeneXus. Let's now look at auto layout applied to cards. Once we have this card as a frame, we can apply this property to it. Auto layout doesn't replace constraints. It's a feature Figma adds to automatically organize elements within a container. With auto layout, we can define element orientation, vertical or horizontal, the spacing between them, internal padding, and component order. Plus, both the container and its internal elements can behave as fixed, meaning fixed size, hug, where the container fits the content, or fill container, which occupies all available space. In our card, for example, the container can be set to hug, the image to fill, the text field also to fill, and the button to fixed. This allows the card's width to adapt correctly without distorting the elements. Common errors with auto layout. If we apply fill container to all elements, when we stretch the card, the button also stretches and loses its proportions, which visually breaks the design and will be replicated exactly the same in GeneXus. That's why each element must be analyzed individually. Images and text can be set to fill, but elements like buttons or especially icons should generally be set to fixed. Everything we define here will directly impact GeneXus. Now let's talk about the spacing between text. A very common mistake is defining text boxes that are too tight for the visible content in the design. In GeneXus, if the text box doesn't have enough horizontal and vertical space, the text may appear cut off or with unexpected line breaks, especially with variable content or fonts with pronounced ascenders and descenders. The rule of thumb: the text box should always be wider than the text it contains, and the height should account for both font size and line height together. There's another very important detail, which is the touch target on mobile. For mobile design, Any interactive element, like buttons, inputs, or icons, must have a minimum tappable area of 48 by 48. This size roughly corresponds to the width of a finger on the screen and ensures the element is easy to touch without errors. If the area is smaller, elements might be partially hidden or hard to touch, compromising both usability and accessibility. If the tappable area isn't met, GeneXus might crop or overlap elements when rendering on a real device. There's a special case worth mentioning: elements that must stay fixed on the screen while the user scrolls, like a header, footer, or floating button. In this example, we added a WhatsApp button that floats over the content and stays visible no matter how much the user scrolls. In Figma, this is defined in the prototype panel under Scroll Behavior by selecting the Position Fixed option. GeneXus interprets this property like this: elements with position fixed become part of the main table as a canvas, while the rest of the content stays inside a scrolling table. On mobile, this scrolling table has autogrow set to false and overflow behavior set to add scroll. On the web, fixed elements get position absolute with their coordinates in the design system. Don't apply this property to a component. The position is defined relative to the component, not the frame where it's instantiated. Another important detail is that GeneXus doesn't support using breakpoints defined by Figma variables. This means we can't define a single screen with variables for desktop, tablet, and mobile within the same frame. The correct way to solve this is by using the multiple layouts convention. Design a desktop version, a tablet version, and a mobile version as variants of the same screen in separate frames. The naming convention is this: the panel name is the common prefix, and the suffixes are the keywords GeneXus recognizes to identify the layout. For example, home, in our case, will be the desktop version, and it'll just say home. Home phone is for the mobile version, and home tablet is for the tablet version. Upon importing, GeneXus will combine them into a single panel with multiple layouts and show the most specific one for the user's screen at runtime. A few key details. This functionality only applies to panels, not web panels. When importing, you have to uncheck the Import as Web Panel option. If several layouts share controls with the same semantics, the properties must match across layouts. Otherwise, GeneXus might ignore or misinterpret some instances. Always define at least one base layout without a suffix as the default. Correctly defining navigation in Figma isn't just a good design practice, it has a direct impact on GeneXus. Links between frames translate into calls between panels. If it's a backlink, GeneXus interprets it as a return command. Two important limitations to keep in mind when prototyping in Figma. Animations aren't supported in Figma files. If you define them, GeneXus will ignore them. You should avoid navigation loops. If the design has cycles between screens, it can cause unexpected behavior during import. The prototype serves as a functional reference for the developer, not as executable logic. A well-structured navigation greatly speeds up the implementation work. In many cases, when working with responsiveness and prototyping, we run into technical limitations, both in Figma and GeneXus, or the design import tool. To explore these limitations in depth, understand what's supported, what isn't, and what alternatives exist, we invite you to watch the next module.